So to that extent, now I'm equally the same governor where he threatened to expel aspirant who lost election in. As the case may be, you needed to differentiate between the executive and the party, so that the man who is doing the business of administration in terms of a governor, a chairman, who the business of they need the business of party politics or politicians. I'm not saying the president, the governor, the chairman should not be a politician. But once we're looking at how politicians should manage affect the party to do that. A situation where you are the governor, at the same time you are the leader of the party, you are the president, you are the leader of the party, and you subject everybody to your whims and caprices. That is why a governor could be threatening to expel somebody from the party. Ordinarily, the governor should not have that right or the power to expel another member of the party out of the party. Now, if we see a situation where the same governor is casting aspersion on the performance of his predecessor, it tells us that there is something fundamentally wrong with that state chapter of the with that APC chapter of the state. So for me, I think it is even likely that APC may have rigged in that state. Because if you are the governor, you are telling us that your predecessor did not perform and that you campaigned based on your own manifesto. So what we should take away from it is that the electorate would have asked question: if the government of the same political party did not record meaningful performance and somebody is coming on the same platform to canvass for vote, so it's unlikely that they would have given the person support. So for me, I think the governor is not a Democrat, judging by the statement accredited to him with respect of threatening litigants. Then secondly, who feel aggrieved from the primary that was conducted in his party. Then secondly, looking at the issue that has to do with statement credited to him with respect to his predecessor, I think this party APC in that state is in disarray. And how can the party in disarray or in that is having crisis have a smooth say to the office of the governor? So I think there are issues that need to be interrogated in that state.
Okay, moving away from that, I haven't seen the headlines. Aside the statement of the governor, Lagos NURT, National Union of Road Transport Workers, generated 123 billion naira annually. Is that not a good news? If we look at it from that perspective, in as much as I know that some people have their school of thought who believe that it is tout and it has been used as a weapon by politicians during campaigning period and so many other things, and pervasive corruption would have gone. What are you looking at?
Okay,
Is it not good news
let
to
me
you?
start from this point. I may be questioning the authenticity of the reports because by training, I'm a statistician.
Okay.
And looking at the figures, it may not add up because I've seen in that report where it is mentioned that each Okada, commercial motorcycle, pay 600 a day. That each tricycle rider pay about 1,800 naira a day. That commercial buses pay about, is it 3,000 or so
a day?
A day. Then looking at those figures, they might not be entirely right. I can understand because I'm familiar with what Marwa pay in some routes. Some pay as much as that. There are some areas where they pay as much as that. There are some areas where they may pay be above that. But some areas where they do not pay up to that. And looking at the policy of Lagos State government in designating routes where commercial vehicles, the one they call the minibus, which is popularly called Danfo, looking at the areas where even keke have right to ply, looking at the routes where commercial motorcycle users have right to operate, and looking at policy of government and looking at how they often come to confiscate this motorcycle, keke marwa, and so on. So I don't think the number they use for their estimate may be right.
Tallies.
Yes. Okay. So those figures may not be right. But holistically, one can be confident to say that Lagos State generates humongous amounts. There's no argument about that. And that best explains the reason a Lagos State government may be doing some policies that look as if they want to take over the transportation sector. But if you look at what is happening in Lagos State, the government is systematically taking over the transportation sector.
Let me go. Are they taking over the private transportation sector?
Yes.
Or they have been able to do a more taxing system of the sector?
And why I say they are taking over, because if you look at
so for viewers at home, you can please let your comments roll in as much as you can, and let's also have your opinions on some of these issues. Thank you very much.
So what I'm saying they are taking over the transport sector is, look at their plan to roll out buses that apply even routes that the long BRT cannot ply. I know that it is difficult, if not for government, it's difficult to break even in Lagos or in any state for that matter, where you have National Union of Road Transport Workers as a union, because it's a formidable union. But because of the might of government, they will easily have their way. It's a matter of fiat, government pronouncement, police will go and enforce it. So for what I can understand, because of the lucrative nature of the transportation sector, especially in Lagos State, that best explains the reason the government is investing heavily in it, and the government is systematically trying to monopolize it.
Now, has there been improvement even with the government interference in transportation? Or don't you think privatization and allow free hands, an open market system whereby there will be more competition and people will participate in the transportation system? Because
the truth is this.
If we have to look at how the transportation system is in Nigeria, and in comparison to some other African countries, we don't have the best railway, we don't have the best waterways, we don't have the best bus system. So is Lagos as a center of excellency really the center of excellency, or is just maybe a statement that we probably can just look at?
No, Lagos is actually the center of excellence, because if you look at it
in terms of
population, one,
in
terms of industrialization. I'm coming.
You mentioned population, and I find it difficult. So does population translate to being excellent?
Population by our standard is what you need want to lubricate an economy. I'm coming. I want to advance my thought. Because if you want to do any business in Lagos, for instance, if you want to do any adventure in Lagos, because of the population, you easily find a market here. So if you are producing for Lagos market, you already have a good market. So that's why I mentioned population. I mentioned industrialization. But if you look at, go and check statistics of job opening in Nigeria, it's surprising that Lagos will have up to 70%. It is not by coincidence. Industrialization, Lagos is almost having, Lagos have more than 50% of what you have in Nigeria in terms of industry, production sector. Look at importation. Though Lagos State do not have comparative advantage as to access to water, but the government policy have somehow given Lagos State an edge over other states, so that a good number of goods that are imported into the country, a good number of the ships that come into Nigeria bet in Lagos, and they discharge their goods in Lagos, and this in a way had to lubricate Lagos economy. That's another one. They're looking at Lagos as a former capital territory. That aura of capital territory is still here. There are so many infrastructural development that was built by federal government that if Lagos State were not a federal capital territory, it may not have witnessed that level of infrastructural development. I can understand that even Lagos State currently is talking about building another, like we have the land bridge. They were thinking of building another one, but you know what it takes to build such bridge, such infrastructure. So all these things put together give them that status. And if you look at, that is why oftentimes they convert that Lagos should be given a special status. But if you look at Lagos State, almost every ethnicity is represented in Lagos State. But looking at that transportation sector is actually lucrative, especially in Lagos. But I do not totally agree with the figures that is bandaged by that report.
Okay, Mr. Matthew, let's move swiftly because we have limitation of time. Let's move over to Bauchi State, where the governor of Bauchi State recently made let's say it's an open allegation, whereby he said he was attacking the opposition party of bringing in criminals into the state. So in his statement, I think the opposition replied in by saying that, let me just take some few words from the statement from the APC Bauchi State. The opposition or Progressive Congress in Bauchi State on Thursday slammed the state governor in person of Senator Bala Abdulkadir Mohammed for the statement credited to him, alleging that some Abuja-based politicians from the state were busy bringing criminals into the state with the intent of pulling down his administration. Reacting to the statement credited to the governor, the state APC chairman, Uba Nana, described the allegation as a cunning attempt by the governor to cover up his ineptitude, administrative blunder, and apparent failure. He went ahead to say, the state was witnessing for the first time in its annals as a government that was less committed to the people's welfare, declaring that social welfare was next to nothing in the governor's agenda. APC chairman stated that civil servants in the state had been reduced to paupers begging for charity in order to survive, submitted that inconsistent and lopsided payment of salary were now the order of the day. So, looking at the reaction, what do you think, or what do you make of this?
You see, personally, in as much as I do not like addressing individual, but I think I've taken time to look at the person of Bala Mohammed, especially since he has been in the saddle as the governor of that state. I've seen him make some statements that need to be interrogated. But I think as a leader, the onus lies on him to make good his assertions, to name those who he felt or who he know because he may have access to some classified information by virtue of his position. So he should do the country a favor by naming those he is aware that is coming from Abuja to destabilize the state.
Yeah, so some people will allege that there have also been so many other political class cut across the divide of the political parties that have also made such allegations, and the security did not go.
Then the challenge do not go to Bala Mohammed alone, to any other person who may be in that
there
category.
was a time Lai Mohammed made the allegations of those.
Then we should equally hold him to account to make good
that the list for the corrupt politician will be out, and those who are sponsoring Boko Haram. So many allegations.
But you could record that Nigerians told him to name them.
Yes, true. So but I never said Nigeria never told him. What I'm saying is like a pattern that cuts across the divide, and nothing normally happens.
I agree with you.
And in the case of the governor, he has immunity.
He has immunity. There's no argument. But his immunity do not deprive you from you expressing your freedom of speech. Then again, I've equally seen a governor who have made some utterances in the past that need to be interrogated. For instance, we know the excesses of herders in this country. He was quoted to have said that 70% of people in Bauchi State is Fulani. He was quoted to have said that the Fulani man is a global citizen, that he does not need visa to move around globally. Now, I'm saying all this because what he have just said border on insecurity, border on crime and criminality. And we are looking at how to curb crime and criminality vis-a-vis the activities of herders. And if you look at out of school children index in Nigeria, Bauchi is leading in that index with over 1.6 million out of school children in Bauchi State.
That's the highest.
It's the highest in Nigeria. So I'm saying that the governor needed to do more in terms of concentrating on the mandate of governance to get students children who are supposed to be in school, to get them out of the streets and make sure they are in school. I'm saying this particularly because the child who you refuse to educate today will grow up tomorrow to become a bandit, to become an insurgent, to join one criminal gang or the other. So I'm saying that if, in as much as we are demanding that the governor should name those personalities, it equally behooves for the governor to ensure that the children in the state are educated, going by out of school children in this.
Came in barely 4 years, 2 years or so. That the point is, some of those statistics is something that would have been built up over time.
But you will agree with me that the governor has a responsibility
that are more crucial
to deliver, especially when it have to do with education of the people.
It's true.
And we all know that what is plaguing Nigeria, especially in the northern part of the country, is as a result of the inability of the leaders to educate the youths. So if you have a state where we have children, more children than any other state that are not in school, I think the such governors should concentrate more on how to address those challenges rather than making statements that he's not ready to expatiate or substantiate. If you have classified information about one or two persons that may be destabilizing the state, the right thing to do is to, as the governor and the chief security officer of the state, is to notify the security agencies.
Are you sure?
And if you have done that,
okay,
and they seem not to be willing to do the needful by investigating and possibly arresting and prosecuting, then you cannot cry out for the world to know his frustration.
So you wouldn't know why he cried out.
No,
what makes you feel he has not informed the security apparatus? Because just recently, Governor Sheyi Makinde said anytime operation wants to take place, it's on the media that they should inform him as the chief security officer of the state, because from that news report, we discovered that the custom engaged in a battle with, I think, Amotekun officers, and I think the commander of the Amotekun died in the process. So they were thinking they are Fulani herdsmen. Then later on, it was discovered that they were not. So now that now brings to the question: how do these people operate? Do they operate with mufti? Do they just operate with any kind of vehicle? What is the modus operandi of some of these agencies? Because it becomes worrisome for you not to have identified the government personnel. It means that we're not putting on
The truth
uniform.
is this.
Then
Okay.
aside that, so in relation to that, I just only digressed a little bit. So do you think the governor, because we're seeing more figurehead chief security officers and they're really not the chief security,
Actually,
haven't said or probably made a move in that regards?
actually, what we have as governors, they are just answering chief security officer of the state without security power. We have seen instances where governors have cried out in that regard. We have seen how the current Benue State governor have consistently harped on federal government doing the needful out of his own frustration of not being able to address it because he don't have the power to enforce the law. You could recall that the way it stands today, Benue State already have anti-open grazing law already enacted by the State House of Assembly. And the federal government that controls the police seem not to be willing to show resolve to enforce the law. And the man is not keeping quiet. He has been saying it. Only recently, he even said that until we get justice, that we cannot stop speaking. He has even accused federal government, even accused Mr. President himself of land grabbing. So what am I trying to say? What I'm saying in essence is the Bala Mohammed of a person know the right thing to do. If he have reported to the relevant security agencies and they seem to be unwilling to address it, then he should name and make it open that for the public to know that he have addressed this before the commissioner of police in the state, before the director of DSS in the state, and all that, and that they seem not to be willing and ready to investigate, possibly arrest and prosecute the personalities involved. Then we will take it seriously.
Okay, moving away from that, we're looking at a statement from the All Progressive Congress, which says that President Muhammadu Buhari does not have a third term agenda. So, Mr. Matthew, what do you make of that?
I don't think we should even be discussing whether President Muhammadu Buhari has third-term agenda or not.
But
Because the way it stands,
is there anything impossible in Nigeria?
okay, and Obasanjo, there were rumors that he tried it. Personally, I believe that he tried it, and
But
we
he
saw
came
how
out
it
and he
failed.
denied it.
He may deny it. Now, the constitution is very clear. We are looking at the performance of this administration, and somebody will be discussing about whether there is plan of tenure elongation. For me, I don't think it's worth discussing.
If insecurity is
because
in the land and election probably might not be able to hold.
I'm not saying an election will not hold.
No, if there are insecurity, the constitution made provision. If the insecurity continues with the way it is, and the election probably cannot hold within that circumstances.
No, the government have a way of addressing it for election to hold for the purpose of conducting an election.
Oh, so the government have a way to solve insecurity problem.
Yeah, because they don't want to create vacuum.
Immediately after the election,
they don't want to
then they continue. Vacuum. That's another school of thought. No, but you seem very factual with this in consideration of what happened in 2015.
Yes.
And what also even in 2019, yes. Election held in almost
yes.
So which means the government
they have a way of doing it so that the election will be conducted. But because in order not to create vacuum and cause constitutional crisis,
we have to look at that 2015, 2019. Are we not going to say, is it maybe is a conspiracy theory anyway, so don't take it too far. Is it not intentional that this insecurity can be solved, and they decided not to solve it.
Don't forget that even as we speak, Nigerian government have taken delivery of 6
Tucano
jets. So if they now show resolve and deploy it into all the theater of operation, I think we are going to record success. And if they drive the process through technology. So for me, when the need arise for them to conduct election, they know what to do. And you'll be surprised that election will be held in every polling unit in this country, in all the 774 local governments. You'll be surprised that election will be conducted nationwide without issues.
Okay, so moving away from that very headline, because there's this headline that got me a little bit troubled, but not really. Why Tinubu did not become Buhari's vice president? That statement is credited to the Director General of VON,
Who happens to be a CPC,
a former CPC leader.
Yes, of course.
Conscience for progressive change. So now the question is, why is this still coming up as at this time? Because
you see,
heard
this
about
issue about
Tinubu.
What the man actually said is this: that the dynamics that made MK Abiola and Kingibe, is it Kingibe? Muslim tickets. That dynamics, that calculation could not work in 2015. That perhaps suggests the reason Buhari was asked to nominate Oshibanjo. And he was given the privilege of nominating somebody, and he nominated Oshibanjo. Now, the man did say that the question of agreement between Buhari and Tinubu to hand over to him never existed. Like I've said on this issue before now, I'm not interested whether Buhari had an agreement with Tinubu. As individual, you have the right to enter into agreement with any person. But it should not be a national issue. You should not make it a national discourse. You should not make it a subject of national conversation. Because if they had personal agreement that if you throw your weight behind me for my presidential election, and just speculating anyway, that I will in return hand over to you, it doesn't have space in the Nigerian constitution. It's a personal arrangement. And they should not use it to bother Nigerians. They should go and sort it out the way they enter into the agreement. Now, that notwithstanding, Tinubu have right as a Nigerian to contest for the office of the presidency. There's no argument about that. Just like any other Nigerian who have the right to contest. And nobody is stopping him. But there is no, whether he actually enter into agreement with Buhari or not, is not an issue that should bother Nigeria as an entity.
Yeah, because I think, well, in as much as that's the truth, it shouldn't be. It's a personal affair,
and they people sort it out personally.
Yes, and so many people in the country also do have personal affair, and they don't bring it to the national. So I'm wondering, but I think there's a caveat to this, because there seems to be a mental philosophy of some of the perceived loyalists of the Tinubu camp within the APC. I've listened to so many, even on TV programs, on different WhatsApp group, and even Facebook commentaries, that the reason for the amalgamation, or what I would term as the merging, was as a result of the fact that Tinubu wanted to play a critical role as a vice president.
I quite agree.
Yes, after the picture was clear, some fell. Some of the loyalists now feel it was lured kind of to come, after which the body language of Muslim ticket cannot fly was thrown to him, and he had nowhere to go as at that stage of the merger. And subsequently, there was a promise after 2015, after it was abandoned for a while, that he will become the next president after 2023. That was around 2017, 2018, 2019, just before the general election. So his loyalists were of the opinion, or kind of, they are pushing that in consideration of probably what they feel is going on within the country and maybe within the party majorly. So, and though there was a personal arrangement, but indirectly it's coming out because the dynamics of politics, I mean, there is no moral justification to whatever happens in politics. It's neither here nor there. And some of us, we are not sympathetic to anything that happens to some of this political class, because they too have done that to some other people using double standard to gain, or hypocrisy, lies. So there is really no morality in whatsoever is going to happen to them. So some of us don't care. Whoever wants to listen to get that very clearly. So I think that is the basis why the subject of conversation seems to be popping up. Although somebody from the presidency, so many people have come to debunk that there was never.
If we were to interrogate it, just for the purpose of
interrogation,
not because it's what
interrogating
under this context.
It's true.
Now, in contracts, if there's offer and there's acceptance, that makes it valid. And before you are talking about somebody making a promise or somebody entering into an agreement
with somebody,
with another person, I think a witness will be involved. So I think what they need to do, because if people are coming to claim that there was an agreement, it implies that somebody is being anticipated to renege on that agreement. Which may be Mr. President. I'm only saying it because, let's just say, for the sake of interrogating it. Otherwise, I don't think we should be discussing it. So okay, now,
let me just take the comments from listeners at home. I think OBTV, my people, welcome. Okay, there was a response. Then Kuti5, greetings, Flip TV, and okay, I think Obin TV was reacting to your comment about Lagos. It was like, yes, you are right. Everything is in Lagos, which is very bad, and all the seaports in Lagos must be open. If one Nigeria, all the seaports in Nigeria. I think he's trying to talk about the various seaports from Warri to Port Harcourt
that
to
if you look
Calabar
at access to sea,
it's true.
Nigeria as an entity, that Lagos do not have comparative advantage to have monopolized goods that come into the Nigeria as a result of all the ships.
Yeah, it is an accident. I don't think it was a deliberate action.
No, it's government policy
that it should be only Lagos.
It's government. Okay, now I'll give you an instance. Under Obasanjo, you know the history of Tinapa. Tinapa did not work. Look at the money that was invested to build Tinapa. Almost all the banks in Nigeria at that time registered presence, already have the infrastructure for Tinapa to take off. But the government of Obasanjo, I don't know, for whatever reason, political or whatever, refused to give the necessary approval and license for Tinapa to take off.
So,
and you know the nature of Tinapa is supposed to have the status of free trade zone.
Yes, true.
So by implication, there are some category of goods that do not need to pay import duty. So if it should have been a destination for all the South and Southeast, it would have been an economic hub for all the South and Southeast. But see how Obasanjo administration frustrated it. So that's why I tell you that it's a matter of policy.
Well, that would be a very hard debate, because consciously or subconsciously, we can also accept there is no willingness in government over the years to make sure that other ports will probably work. It might not be a deliberate policy not to make other.
I will not ask you another thing.
But
let me ask you another thing. Is it by coincidence that almost all the corporate offices of all the oil majors in Nigeria are in Lagos State?
It is not by coincidence, but I think it's deliberate. Maybe because of insecurity, some have argued.
because of insecurity.
Maybe.
Let me
So
ask you
even
another,
the ones
let me
that
ask you
sorry, let
another
me come.
question.
Even the ones that at the point where in South had to relocate because of kidnapping and so many other
I'll ask you
things.
another question.
But
I'll ask you another question.
comparatively,
I will ask you another
no,
question.
let me come in. Let me
I should
answer.
not ask you,
No,
Abi.
I'm coming. Let me answer in reacting to that. It might also be deliberate because some conspiracy theorists have also have it that so that the region won't be developed, so that so many things will be concentrated in one part. In fact, some have argued that after Oshibajo visited the
I
South
wanted
region,
to bring that to your notice.
that some people spoke to him that if they leave towards the other region, that, like he said,
and there was a promise from federal government to ask all the oil majors to relocate
that
their
some people
corporate
called him that it
offices.
simply means the ethnic group where he is from will lose in terms of so many
And
things.
he did make a promise.
Yeah, so
and he put a timeline.
I don't know, but I'm
what
trying to
I'm trying to
specify
say-
conspiracy theorists that they had to call Oshibajo that no, don't do this. It simply means we'll lose out. Your Shell, your Mobil, your Slum BJ, and name them. We move to that area. Then what happens to the tax they are paying in our region?
So it's a matter of
What
policy.
happens to the it might not be deliberate, but people don't capitalize on the failure of the system because historically, for everywhere the British left or stayed longer time, spent longer time, those places are almost the most developed parts. From your airport to your city, that would be the best. If you go to South Africa, the best port they had, if you read history, was the side the British domicile, just like Lagos. So it wasn't as if the indigenous people are the ones that made those places the most developed parts.
No, you are. I don't think
I'm creating the basis
I'm not contending
of
what you just said.
No, yeah, okay. So I'm just creating the basis of what the leadership of Nigeria came to meet over time.
No, you see, I'm not contending what you just said. My area of the area I have issue is, I've said it, I believe you, that Lagos do not have competitive advantage when it comes to access to sea.
Yes.
So on that basis, there's no reason you should concentrate every importation restricted to Lagos.
Yeah, maybe some of the
and again,
the destination
and again,
part.
It is only recently that they even discover some oil well in Lagos State. And if you look at a good number of the oil well that is discovered in Lagos State, do not even belong to Lagos State because of even the policies of federal government. Because the same way they are doing it to Niger Delta, it now affected Lagos State. Because if you see discover any oil in exclusive economic zone, the law say it does not belong to the state. It belongs to the federal government. So that best explain that even you see a good number of oil wells in Bayelsa State that is supposed to be within Bayelsa, it belongs to federal government because it's seen in the exclusive economic zone.
Let's take the to Nigeria's comment. He said, what that simply means is that the security situation is not as bad as we think. Example of this is the recent protest that many thought was going to be loud but went quietly.
Which of the protests?
I don't know. To Nigeria's message, maybe you need a special understanding to always comprehend this message.
To decipher it.
But I think maybe in the terms of security, I think he was trying to make that in relation to the election we talked about. That the security.
Okay, that the government have a way of addressing this security.
So he is saying it simply means the security is not as bad. To Nigeria has not been in Nigeria, so I really don't expect him to type anything different than what he's typing. I think he said, okay, the silent majority of Nigerians feel, even with the insecurity, that there's progress being made. Hence, why they do not react the way many pundits in the morning show do.
What is he trying to say?
I don't know. Just like I said, he's the only one that understands what he's saying. Okay, no, I think he's trying to say majority of Nigerians. I don't know where I got the majority.
No, but another thing, see, I think I get what he's trying to say. If you look at Pundits, you look at that morning program. The other day, some persons were giving leverage to some people who were not regular, came on board and
the whole world. Reality.
Yes. So it's not a question of people towing the same line. People are speaking out of the reality on ground.
Which are those are the
people
majority.
like Nigeria may have lost
touch with reality.
touch with the reality on ground. If you come to Nigeria and sample opinion of Nigerians, you will understand how they feel. Because I can understand if you notice the other boy they call Demon, that boy that spoke this morning, that people felt that was drunk anyway. So, he said he voted for Mr. President, but he was casting aspersion on Mr. President. So it's a reflection of what his
real picture is.
Off camera, I was discussing with him. He said he don't have 1 naira in his pocket. And this is somebody perhaps who is in his line of business, it have never been this bad. So people are talking as a result of what they are passing through.
In the reality.
So the people like Nigeria should understand that the reality on ground is what is making people to speak in the manner they are speaking. Not necessarily because they choose to criticize Mr. President.
Wow.
If Mr. President addressed the issue of insecurity, the result will show. And people, whether you like it or not, they will say it. When we are seeing infrastructural development in the railway, people are saying it because somebody can travel from Lagos to Ibadan.
No, even if the road is spoiled in the
somebody can travel from Abuja to Kaduna on rail. Somebody can understand that the one that run from Delta State, from Warri to the northern part of the country, that it has been completed. It is feasible. You can see it.
So you don't.
Even if people are interrogating to know the terms of agreement between Nigerian government and Chinese government and those companies who are doing the job, even as government have not come clean to make us understand the terms, but we can see those rail projects physically, and we can feel it.
That's true.
We cannot say the same thing of insecurity. We cannot say the government have done well in terms of addressing insecurity. We cannot say the government have done well in terms of trying to create harmonious relationship between the ethnic groups, especially the Fulani and others.
So those are the statistical
yes,
facts.
so people like Nigeria should get it right. Should understand what is on ground here in Nigeria.
And they should try to be saying the truth.
Yes. Irrespective of what is motivating them to say what they are saying, they should face the reality.
I don't understand. What do you mean by what is not
I may not know.
Maybe something is behind it.
I may not know.
Because the point is, just like to Nigeria, we have so many other Nigerians who directly or indirectly, I'll say school of thought, but they're always on the minority. And a critical look at some of them is that, just like you said, there is a motivating factor.
Of course.
So something is passing somewhere. So the reality on ground is that, do you know that I have a schoolmate that he was traveling back. He get one wonderful job. Let me not mention the salary. So he was traveling back from Ondo to Lagos. The vehicle he boarded got spoiled, and in the process of just changing tire, they kidnapped this young man, took him somewhere. They were, as a Nigerian, you can see people from their intonation, even when they speak English, and you know that
this is where the
person is. You might not get it. And the guy said emphatically, there is nobody in the east and in the south from the group of people that are kidnapping. Not that it's one person that heard another language, not two. These guys are Fulani. And there was transfer. It wasn't cash this time around made. Somebody had to sell a laptop, one of his cousins, to add up to the money. They sent 800,000, almost 1 million, because they demanded for 2 million. So they left him and a lady and one other guy. While the other people who had no money, he stayed there. He had to trek to a bush path and come out somewhere. He spent 3 days just Ondo down to Lagos. So if some people have not experienced what other people are passing
that is
through,
the problem.
or maybe their relations,
That is
that's the
issue
problem
with,
we have.
I may not blame people like Nigeria because they have lost touch with reality on ground. So maybe maybe the source of his information is not right. Maybe he's getting his information from the wrong side. But for me, I think the Nigerians who are speaking out, who are speaking against the maladministration of the government, they are the patriotic Nigerians. It's just like as you be calling for the head of an Igbo, and you forget that it is the government inefficiency, the government dereliction, the government negligence,
the government
that gave rise to
Igboism
to have a role to play.
Now I was reading something. Someone said Igboism. So it's becoming a school of thought gradually. So no, but people, I wonder where we get the kind of humans from in this part of the world who are not fair in judgment of issues the same way to all other parts of the country. And it's becoming worrisome that we're getting more of those people by the passing by of each day who uses ethnicity, party affiliation, politics.
Like I was saying, you know, they say he who plays the piper dictates the tone. I just said that for everything you do, there's a motivational
factor behind it.
So never can tell what is motivating most of these people when they can clearly see that the government have failed in a particular area. They would refuse to acknowledge it. Personally, areas where the government have tried,
we acknowledge it.
Like we did say here on this platform that this government of Muhammadu Buhari started well by recognizing and paying policemen who fought on the side of
the Biafra. Yes.
As a way of pacifying them.
And
we did say on this platform that the son of Ojukwu, as we speak, is the secretary general, is the secretary of Human Rights Commission.
Yes, it's true.
So those were steps in the right direction in addressing all these long-aged grievances that plague this country.
It's true.
So it's not as if we are not saying areas where the government have performed. It's just that this security seems to have overwhelmed all the activities of governance.
And the government should also.
So if the government could be spending about $559 million on Tucano jet alone, that money could have been used for infrastructural development if insecurity was not an issue in Nigeria. So it is, if the spending of government, if budgetary allocation, the spending, if security issues have dominated the spending, then the discussion about Nigerian issue, security will equally dominate it. So it's not by circumstance. It's not by, it's not by coincidence. The way it is, it's an issue. And we are seeing crisis almost in every strata of the society. So we must have conversation on it. So people like Nigeria should understand that this is the reality on ground.
No, there's no point. You might not understand, but as long as there's a motivating factor, it's okay. Well, let me take another. Okay, Mr. Okpe Adeoye said, okay, good job, guys. Mr. Martin says, Matthew, I think it was Mr. Obin TV said, Mr. Martins, okay, I think he was referring to you. Mr. Matthew is right. If all the seaports were open, then development and it will create jobs. Mr. Okpado, you say, good job, guys. Kuti5, the way I listen to news these days and following Flitty, I hope I'm not getting old. No, it's not, Mr. Kuti5, it's not about getting old, it's about knowing the reality of the condition we are.
Of course.
And if truly we are heading anywhere as a people, because virtually most people don't want to stay in this part of the world again.
That is
because
fact.
Life is short and brutish, nasty in this part of the world, and most people want to give birth to their child in the UK and Canada, just like Nigerians in the UK, and he'll be advising and encouraging those that are staying here to die young of UK with good internet. So that I don't worry, when we are with you in the UK, we'll type as much as more worrisome headlines and support whoever of you like supporting. Okay, Nigeria was laughing. He said, may have lost some steps. I don't get that, but definitely right on solution. Okay. Mr. OBTV said, Mr. Sam, education in Nigeria is very bad. As I'm writing in this program, teachers came to school with melon and crayfish.
Okay,
After
maybe
service,
let us
they
quickly
will go
address
home
some issues of solution
without
so that to
teaching
satisfy
students.
people like to Nigeria.
No, it's not even no, okay. Okay, solutions, right?
Maybe let us dwell,
On
since we
solution.
don't have much time. Let us dwell briefly on
Okay.
solution.
Let me just take the last headline. So we'll come. In fact, I'm enjoying the comment section actually. In fact, because someone just said the teachers came to school with crayfish and I don't know. Okay, let's take this, which is more or less the last of what we have to take. Sunday Igboho details. Okay, it's about Sunday Igboho. Details of Thursday court hearing reviewed. I don't know if you were able to go through that. The court
because
that
his
took place
lawyer
in
did
June.
say that even the much touted
extradition
treaty,
there was no agreement
that it
between
never
Nigeria and
existed.
it never existed. So it means
and the way it stands, that Nigerian government is even yet to file extradition
process to even bring
in that court.
Sunday
So what they merely treated was issue of immigration crime or offense, as the case may be. But looking at it holistically, I think Nigerian government may finally chicken out.
Sorry, before you even go there, why won't Nigerian government chicken out? Because reports said, there's another headline, that the Nigerian government went there with an helicopter.
Yes. At the first instance.
And without following the normal procedure.
Yes.
So
meaning they actually wanted to
kidnap him. Okay, sorry, I'm not using that. Probably the Nigerian government want to do the Umar Diko format.
Of course.
So,
and is it by coincidence that the Umar Diko issue happened under
President Buhari? The Kano issue happened under President Buhari. An helicopter now landed in Benin Republic to be using the same format, possibly abduct under the same.
So
president.
If not that people raise alarm,
it would have been adopted.
Yes. And this does not talk good of Nigeria, because by our standard, you have due process. It is not by circumstance that countries enter into extradition treaty. So if the issue of extradition arises, the needful thing to do is to follow due process. You will ventilate your case, because the way it stands, the whole world is already aware of what is transpiring in Benin Republic. Whether Nigeria government like it or not, they will present their case.
No, they've not even presented anything.
No, at the nick of time.
Okay.
If they actually need the man in Nigeria for prosecution.
They never said they needed the man from the court.
So by the time they present their case, the judge will look at the merit of their case.
If
they are justified,
fine.
Going by, even now they are even saying we do not even have that extradition treaty
signed.
So
even if they are justified,
they may not even have the local standing
to even extradite
that extradition treaty proceeding.
So which means that comparatively, looking at the case on ground, Sunday Igboho does not seem like somebody that might even be brought back to the country.
The way it stands.
Yes, because from all legal perspective, the government is not even having any edge.
So for me, I think.
And the wife has been released from news.
Yes.
Course, so watch how the case was handled, and justice has been almost served in less than 3-4 days.
I think I give kudos to the government of Benin Republic.
Yes.
Because they insisted that due process must be followed.
Yes. So now
record that I do say it on this platform the other time, that even some freedom fighters from Cameroon who came to Nigeria to seek asylum, they were having a meeting in Abuja. The DSA rounded them up and handed them over to Cameroonian government.
Which is wrong. That is not the procedure.
And going by international law, Nigerian government have a duty to protect them
first.
So I don't know, illegality do not take us anywhere. That is where.
Sorry, let me come in. Maybe two Nigerians listening. This is a solution we are profiling.
Of course.
Yes. So following due process is the solution. So if you have those in government, you can share the video to them that following due process, so that the country would be among committee of sane nations when being viewed internationally. So when you take your passport from the UK, you are crossing to another border. They'll look at you like somebody from a nation who don't abduct people with a helicopter and just bundle them overnight. And like the case of Osh Poppy, it was visible that due process was followed. So to Nigeria, we've given you solutions, pass it on to whoever you can pass it with. And another thing, saying the solution is not even the problem. Do they implement solution even on panels that the government itself constitutes? That's another question we keep asking. The NSAS panel report came out 2011, instituted by the same government. The same government that instituted the APC confab report on restructuring. So to Nigeria, those are the solutions. The solutions of most of the agitation is in the report panel, both the one of the APC and the confab report of 2014 by Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Let them read that of Ebele Jonathan.
Let me even bring in. Look at the whole Southern governors. They had a meeting in Delta and recently in Lagos State. They came up with resolutions to ban open grazing as a panacea to end the clashes between herders and whole communities. And everybody have said unanimously that what we need in Nigeria to end this
is ranching. Considering this
so
time,
is that not a solution? So and is the government showing willingness to
implement ranching rather they are looking for
who is now causing the crisis?
So who is not providing solution?
We even have a situation where even the Fulani herdsmen have rejected vehemently that they should be restricted to ranching. So it's not as if people are not talking about solution. It's the willingness of the authorities to address it the way they should address it.
Yeah, that's why I tried to say in the morning that except the person who might have alleged that Flip TV or those of the reviewers have not profiled solution, it depends on how we hear things and how we comprehend issues. I think this is one of the platforms that, aside the fact that constructive criticism is thrown open, solutions upon solution is what this is not like every other TV station that have streamlined analysts who will come and romance the subject of conversation and run. We have so many of them on some of our national TVs. So it's the only platform that enables people, aside expressing your view, we provide solutions in numerous ways.
Let me still bring in this. As part of solving Nigerian political crisis, is Nigeria not yearning now that we should have electronic transfer of election results?
So is that not
a solution? Is the government willing to do it? Have we not even seen a situation where a government institution have come to lie on oath in National Assembly about the network coverage in Nigeria? So who is not talking about solution? We are discussing about solution. We are discussing about issues. We are discussing about how to proffer solution. So the only lies on the government to address those issues
and implement the solutions.
Yes, of course.
So those who have said they've not heard solution now, maybe they'll be picking by road to write it down, because for me, the solutions are even enormous, so much than even the critic. So moving away from that, let me also, Mr. Bean TV said, Mr. Sam, education in Nigeria is very bad. As I'm writing in this program, teachers came to school with melon and crayfish. After selling, they will go home without teaching the students. I really wish to know the part of the country this is happening. Maybe one of these days, Mr. Obin TV will come with our camera set and with our camera guys so that we'll do an investigative analysis of some of these areas. We'll be glad if we can have more information. Then we'll just do an expositionary movement to see some of these places. And that is the irony. So many teachers engage in selling or doing some menial job because most of them are not paid, even in government schools, some in private, some 10,000, salary 15,000, 30,000. So, Mr. Matthew, what do you have to say about this? It is funny.
As funny as it may look, perhaps that is the only opportunity they feel they have to earn living and to make ends meet. Because if you look at the situation where you don't expect a man who have responsibility, who have bills to pay, to go stealing. Perhaps they have looked around.
There's no any other source.
That is the only way they can make ends meet or to add to their income. So I'm not criminalizing it. I'm not condemning it, because they say he who wears the shoe know where he pinches him. And they say uneasy lie the head
that wears the crown. Okay, let me take this other one. He said, and glad to hear about, okay, that's to Nigeria. Talk of progress. Many Nigerians are working hard to keep the country going. Going to where? Okay. From the police to healthcare, we need to remember that.
But let it be on record that Tunyaya did not compel us to talk about solution, that we'll be talking about it. This why is sounding like this.
We need to remember that when we talk Nigeria down, who is talking Nigeria down? Nobody is talking Nigeria down. The country is already down. We are saying the realistic picture. Mr. Obinti said, which area governments have tried? I don't know.
We did talk about railway.
Railway, yeah. But so the railway broke down the other day. No one.
No, you don't. If you have isolated issues,
Mr.
you don't use it to.
The railway in Kaduna Abuja is isolated issue. How many times
you don't use to draw inference about failure?
Okay.
Yes.
No, what I'm saying is, it's not once, it's not two, it's not three. It's the railway.
It should be addressed.
They said so. As if being addressed. After it will be addressed, it broke down again. Those guys spent 3 days.
What we cannot deny is that the railway is operational.
Is on ground.
It's operational.
And we can see.
It's operational.
Yes. So the operational capacity is what we can't debate, but we can see that there's a railway which has not been in existence.
Meaning the money that is supposed to be expended is actually
used for railway. So if it's working perfectly, it's another argument. Let's not go there. Mr. Machi is more balanced, but the two. Okay, it's more balanced today. Wow, soon Nigeria will get you a bottle of Coke, Mr. Mati. But he too says the government has problem and solution. Government is not Thanos. I don't know what he means by that. We have to be ready to engage positively, even if it's thankless. Positively how? Nigerians are the only people that have engaged the government.
Thankless? Who is even thanking you when you say
it's your normal work to do. If the government does not like it, they should leave it if the kitchen is too hot for them. So have they done anything supernatural that deserve more thanking with what is going on with poverty? Mr. Samuel and Matthew, you can see how fast Cotonou brought Sunday at the court without waiting for 5 years before bringing him to court. Yes, that's another thing. I think we've commended the Cotonou government.
Course, yes.
Now, they brought Nnamdi Kanu first from Kenya, but the court has heard the case of Sunday Igboho and have even gave Monday for hearing of that case within a week. So Nnamdi Kanu is still, the court is still procrastinating. And
we don't even know the year. Next day of
the year. So you see that we were talking down now, and we were saying constructive critics. Some people will say you are talking down. So can't we praise the one that have done the right thing and have fast-tracked the process of justice, and the one that is not doing the needful, castigate? So it makes logic stand on its head if we are now using double standard to praise a man that has failed and leave a man that has done the wrong thing, and yet we are Nigerians. Rather, we should play sentiment and applaud for our own. Had it been Nigerian government did the same thing, just like N123, we would have applauded them more because they are our own. But for us to be saying the realistic position simply means the government has not done, or the system has not encouraged Nigerians to be happy to see the realistic point of view.
And it's
very, very unfortunate. I think all solutions have been done before, but without security, all progress can easily be reversed. So, to Nigeria just said that. So, is it your duty to provide the security?
And the funny aspect of it is that the government have gotten enormous resources. Go and check since this administration came on board. There have never been any time they approach National Assembly for fund, whether for borrowing, whatever, to fight insecurity.
Yes.
They have always given them speedy approval. So when it comes to fund, I don't think they should have excuse. And they are at liberty to deploy technology to drive the process. The fund is there to do it. So I don't know the reason the government is not doing the needful. Perhaps because of what Shegumi has said, that there are some military personnel who are sabotaging the effort of the government. And that's where the government even need to do a diligent investigations.
Okay,
for the purpose of sanitizing the system.
Okay, let me just use this avenue for viewers joining and whoever wants to be part of Flip TV, moving on to the next phase. You can please join our membership program, and you receive exclusive content that are probably not viewable to every other person using the normal platform on YouTube. And there's also a GoFundMe account the station recently opened, so you can please follow the link as well so that you can be part of the GoFundMe process. So moving away, I think Mr. Obi in TV said, "I love you guys and your CEO." Oh, thank you. I wish journalists can learn more from you guys. Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Obi. Then Conclusively, Mr. Matthew, 2023 is fast approaching. Looking at the level of insecurity, Sunday Igboho, agitation from the north central, southeast, electronic voting, what is the way forward? We are in the middle of so many crises.
The way forward is this. If you get it right from election point of view, we have addressed 70, if not 80% of Nigerian problem. Because we have problem because the people, the popular candidates don't often have their way. Now, let us have electronic transfer of election results in our laws. That is what we demand of the government. Unanimously, both the executive, legislature, and judiciary, they should synergize and give us that law. Then, secondly, the government should pay attention to peaceful agitators, and they should address issues, paramount issues that are being raised by these secessionist agitators, more so as they go about it peacefully. Then on insecurity, the government should show resolve to fight whoever is fighting the nation, irrespective of whether the person is from your own ethnicity. Like, people have speculated that this government is not willing to fight the Fulani because Muhammadu Buhari is a Fulani man. So Mr. President should prove those people wrong by showing resolve and fighting them. And seeing the Fulani herdsmen the same way the global terrorism index see them as the fourth most dangerous terrorist organization in the world. And above all, the people in power should remember that power is transient, it's ephemeral, that posterity will judge them harshly if they find themselves on the wrong side of the law. Thank you very much.
Okay, viewers at home and those who have influence on governmental decision, at the Pundits, we look at issues objectively and also give it to governmental actors who have done well and those who probably need a reorientation or who should do the needful in order to make Nigeria be among the committee of nations that we'll all be proud of, to claim that we are all equal citizens before the law. Electioneering in same climes as it stands now have moved digital, and the legislature should do the needful by letting transmission of results. This is not even electronic voting. We're talking about just the result to be transmitted electronically. Leaving that aside, security is paramount. Decentralization of the security network will enhance efficiency and security of lives and property. Doing this would enable the system to allow the Nigerian youth participate in electioneering process, and as a result of security, development politically and economically would drag in foreign investors. Why the rule of law should prevail in all circumstances. See you on Monday. With me in the studio is Mr. Oloku BNOC Matthew, and I am Effiong Samuel. Bye for now.
Thank you.